Can we please give a massive cheer for Nick Denman?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to attempt without the microphone. If you can't hear at the back, just shout and we'll ignore you. Or we might bring a microphone over, but hopefully it'll work and you'll understand why. So, I retired a few years ago after the best part of 40 years as a maths teacher. And several of my colleagues of a similar age were, I think, a bit nervous about retirement. They were a bit apprehensive about how it would work for them, whereas I couldn't wait. Don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoyed my job. In fact, I think I could say I enjoyed almost every single day of my teaching career. But I knew retirement was going to work for me. I enjoy holidays, and I saw retirement as just a really long holiday. I also have a skill. Oh yes, I can do nothing really well. And I've got stamina, I can do nothing all day. And thoroughly enjoy it, and more importantly, not feel guilty. However, my daughters, and probably more importantly, my wonderful wife, I think were a little bit worried that I might actually sit around all day, every day during retirement, doing Sudokus, crosswords, playing Scrabble online, and other puzzles that I enjoy. And to be honest, a little bit of that does happen some days, okay, every day. But I thought, yeah, it'd probably be a good idea if I took up a couple of extra hobbies for retirement. So about 3 years ago, I took up paddleboarding. Now, I don't normally see myself as a trendsetter, but it seems to me that since then the rest of the world has tried to take up paddleboarding. I don't think it's down to me. And that's quite fun, I enjoy that, but a bit difficult to demonstrate that here tonight, and it wouldn't fit in the bag. So I'm going to talk about another hobby that I took up, and I was inspired to try this by one of my daughter's boyfriends, in fact. Oh, hang on, that sounds bad. I don't want to imply... So I have two daughters, and over the years, they've had boyfriends, and one of my daughter's boyfriends, yeah, that's better, was an amazing acrobat. No, don't worry. But he was also a juggler. And I thought juggling was just about keeping 3 balls in the air, and if you're really good, then you might do more than 3. But he showed me his juggling, and I was absolutely blown away by the variety of patterns and tricks you could do with just 3 balls. And I thought, wow, I'd love to be able to do that. I wonder whether a retired old maths teacher could teach himself to juggle once you get to what I like to call the senior side of 60. So, 3 years ago I started and I had a go. So, like everything else, when you want to learn something, if you're not at school, you go to YouTube and find a tutorial. And I had a go. And it took a few months, but I did manage to learn some of these tricks. And at home nowadays, when nobody's watching, I can do most of them, and I don't drop the balls too often. Whether, of course, I could do that in front of a large audience, well, we're about to find out for the first time. So, so I normally juggle with these things, little bean bags, but I thought for tonight I'd get my big balls out. And these are they. Now, I reckon, looking around here, I reckon anybody here, I reckon several of you could probably learn to juggle if you don't already. In fact, let's just find out. I mean, how many of you can already juggle 3 balls? I can't see any hands at all. That's brilliant. Oh dear. Okay, fantastic. Well, do please come and show us at the end, in the interval, what you can do. A little bit nervous at this one. Can anyone juggle more than 3 balls?
2 balls.
Thank goodness for that. Okay. So, really, all you have to be able to do to juggle is just to throw a ball from one hand to the other like that. It's pretty simple, and as one comes down, you throw the other one up, and as long as you could do that, then you could do the 3-ball juggling cascade. I think you'll agree that's basically the pattern. Now, some of you might be thinking, hang on, he said he was a math teacher, that doesn't look like 3 balls. But I think you'll find that, yeah, there's the third one. So that pattern, really, if you just keep it going, and then you just throw the third one in and keep the pattern going, you get 3-ball juggling. And the first trick you learn when you've done that is just, instead of throwing them underneath the previous one, you throw one over the top. So that's all very exciting. And if you do it continuously from side to side, that's called juggler's tennis. Okay. Or they can all go over the top. And that's called the reverse cascade. So, when you've done a bit of that, another simple thing you can add to it is, instead of catching the ball like that, you could do what's called a claw catch, where you catch it like that. So, oh, actually, a bit of health and safety, Tim did warn me. People in the front row, it might be a good idea if you stay awake for at least the next 30 seconds, please. I'm sure that nothing will go wrong, but just in case one of those throws doesn't go right, you might need to take evasive action. Don't worry, man, it won't happen. And even if it did, they don't really hurt. So, the odd claw catch, like that. Not very exciting, but there you go. I could do it, so I'm showing you. Once you've done that, the next trick you learn in juggling, if you've done the first cascade, is to go into columns. So, you can then do tennis in columns. Sometimes it can go all the way around. Whoa! Another nice pattern is the rainbow. As long as they don't crash in the middle. Well, thank you very much indeed. Totally unexpected. Thoroughly deserved, but totally unexpected. So another advantage of juggling in columns is that if one hand gets a bit tired, you could just do this. Which leads nicely into a pattern called the yo-yo. So from the yo-yo, you can throw a few circles. This pattern is called, if I can get it right, the, what's it called? The weave. What else have we got? Oh yeah, so we got the, that's called the half shower. And then you can throw one under there and make it go a bit weird. What else have we got? We've got the Boston Shuffle. I'm not quite sure why it's called that, but that looks... Oh. So the way it works, if a trick goes wrong, thank you for laughing. If a trick goes wrong, I'll try it once again. If it does go wrong again, you're not going to see it. So the Boston Shuffle should look something like that. We've got one called the Factory or the Machine, which is quite a fun pattern. Sometimes I think this works better with a noise. But my favourite pattern is called the Mills Mess. So that was invented, created, found, discovered by an American juggler called Steve Mills about 35 years ago, might be slightly more now. And I mean, juggling's been around a long time. In fact, the earliest evidence they've got is Egyptian wall paintings of females, I'm glad to say, juggling lots of balls, very impressive, which they've dated these paintings to 2000 BC. So, how long has juggling been around? Told you I was a maths teacher. Good effort. 2000 BC, these paintings. How long has juggling been around, sir?
4,000 years. 20.
Close enough, close enough. Thank you. Gold star seen at the end of the lesson. Thank you. But actually, until about 40 years ago, you didn't really see jugglers around, except in a circus. History tells us that royal courts of Europe, they quite like, we all know they had their court jesters, but they also had their court jugglers. Apparently, a bloke called Ivan the Terrible, he really liked juggling. I mean, he was a naughty boy, but he really liked juggling, so, you know. And apparently he used to insist on having lots of jugglers around when he held his really wild orgies. I'm sure that sort of thing doesn't happen in St Leonard's, but... Okay, so I wonder why it is that there weren't jugglers and then suddenly it's now come about as a thing that a few people do. And I reckon it's all down to YouTube and TikTok and social media. Because trying to teach yourself to juggle from a book, not very easy. You have to find a juggler and there weren't many of them around. But nowadays, you just go on to YouTube and have a look at a tutorial and you can teach yourself quite a lot that way. So, big boom in juggling in America in the sort of 70s and 80s, came over to Europe after that, and now jugglers are everywhere, even at the Bavard Bar. So, what was I doing? Oh yeah, the Mills Mess. So the Mills Mess, this looks really good when a good juggler does it. But hopefully I can give you a little bit of a flavour. So it looks something like this. Whoa! Now, I know what you're all thinking. You're all thinking, well, that was 3 balls. I wonder if he can juggle with 4. No. Well, I say no. I mean, sometimes I can do this. But you might have noticed that was cheating, really. That wasn't proper juggling with 4 balls. That was just doing this in one hand and this in the other hand. Actually, this, you're quite like this. I mean, that is one of the exercises that you have to learn to do in order to build up to some of the tricks. So it's no good just watching somebody juggling a trick. You have to have a tutorial that tells you the exercises to do that will lead up so that you can then try and attempt the trick. And I've always loved learning something new. Sometimes I wish I'd stuck at things a bit longer and see if I could get good at them, but it's too exciting to learn something new. But this, you'll like this. So this trick, which took me about a week, I think 2nd week of juggling probably, spent a lot of time just being able to do that, leads into lots of tricks like the columns and other things. So really good jugglers can do this without even looking at the balls, apparently. So juggling just like that, it's a bit obvious if you do them at the same time. Oops. But if you do it, as they call it, asynchronously, it can sort of look like you're juggling 4 balls if you get it right. To actually get them to cross over into the other hand, much harder. But I'd learned the 3-ball cascade, so I thought I'd try and learn the 4-ball cascade. So went on, found out, and had a look. Found lots of people asking, why is there no such thing as a 4-ball cascade? Ooh, that's fascinating, isn't it? No, just me. Okay. Well, I looked really hard, and I did find, eventually, I had to look really hard actually, honestly, to see if I could find an explanation, and I eventually found a proof. What's more, it was a mathematical proof. Impressive. So it ran to 11 pages. The guy submitted it as part of his PhD thesis. It involved proving several minor theorems first before bringing them all together to then conclusively prove that it is impossible to have what's called a symmetric cascade where you throw from alternating hands with an even number of balls if you have an even number of hands. Apparently, according to his maths, if I had 3 hands, I should be able to do a nice symmetric cyclical 4-ball cascade, but sorry, only the 2. However, I thought, well, you don't want to hear an 11-page proof as to why you can't have a cascade with an even number of balls. So I've cut it down to 7 for you. So, no? So I thought long and hard, maybe I could find an explanation myself as to why, with an even number of balls, you can't have a nice alternating symmetric pattern. And thought quite hard about it, and then eventually it became obvious, which is like, well, a lot of maths works like that. At first things are pretty tricky, you don't understand it, you think very hard, then you understand it, and then it's sort of obvious. So if I were to juggle 4 balls and throw them all in the air, so it might start something like this, like that, and swap hands, then if I start with this one, for instance, start with the blue first, then the white, then the red, a bit down, then the green, then, let's just see if that red wants to do a bit better than that. No, it doesn't, never mind. So the first ball went up from this hand, and if you've got an even number of balls, the last ball's going to go up from this hand. So they're now all in the air. Can you see them? If you can, you've had too many. So the first one that went up came from here, the last one came from there. Where's that first one about to land? Here, but that's the hand that just threw the last ball. So it's a bit more obvious if you just do with 2 balls, the 2-ball cascade, that's fine, you can sort of do that, but what you're doing here is right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, hold! So you can't, so it has to be like that. So the first 3 throws can be from alternating hands, but then you have to do 2 from the left, 2 from the right. And I'll see if you can, you might have to watch quite carefully and also very quickly, because I can't keep this pattern going very long. But I shall have a go. So if you want them to swap hands, oops, hang on, let's try again. No, try again. So, 4 balls, can't do a nice cascade, and that's why jugglers have odd balls. And so, of course, 4 is an even number, but 5 is, of course, an odd number, so it should be possible. I just can't do it. I did try. I spent at least a month, was it last summer or something, one of those lockdowns when we were stuck without anything better to do. Spent a month trying to do a 5-ball cascade. Really hard. So, with 3, you've got quite a lot of flexibility in moving your hands around if the throws don't go. A lot of people think juggling is all about the catching. Actually, it's all about the throwing. Throwing consistently. If one of them doesn't go quite to the right place, then you've got no chance of catching it and the other ones and moving on. However, yeah, so I can't really juggle 5 balls, I'm very sorry, but I can sometimes manage a 5-ball flash. So just to explain, a flash in juggling is where however many balls you've got, you throw them up in the air and then you just catch them. To qualify as a proper juggle, you have to throw every ball twice. So you throw them all up in the air, and then as they come down, you have to throw them back up in the air again, and then catch them. And the world record, held by an English boy called Alex Barron, set about 10 years ago now, is an unbelievable 11-ball juggle. So 11 ball, I mean, I don't even know how he holds them in his hands. Admittedly, my balls are bigger than his. Of course. But to have 6 balls in one hand and manage to throw them only one at a time, and not all of them, and all really high, because you've got to get them up in the air before they start coming back down again, and get the last ones out, and all to almost exactly the same height. Otherwise, if one goes slightly too low, it's going to come down the same time as the previous one, then you've not got a chance. So, anyway, he also holds the world record for the greatest number of balls flashed, and that's 14. Again, totally unbelievable. Both those records have been equalled since, but never beaten. He did them when he was 17. So, I'm going to attempt to finish my little talk this evening by hopefully doing a 5-ball flash. Just so this trick is quite tricky. And I'm afraid I only manage it about 60–70% of the time, so you might have to give me a few goes, and if after a few goes it still doesn't work, you'll just have to believe that I can do it. Why did I decide to do it? So, 5-ball flash to finish. It's really tricky with the lights in front of you because they've got to go quite high these into the lights. But we'll see what happens. One more go.
Light 'em up, light 'em up.
Try the other hand. Try starting with the other hand. Last go. Don't worry, Tim, I'm stopping soon. Honest. Okay, last go. Here we go.